Hello. This video is intended to show how I have met one of the requirements for the NMRA Achievement Program's Certificate for Model Railroad Engineer Electrical. The requirements for any of the Achievement Program certificates may be found at the NMRA's website, www.nmra.org. Once there, pull down the tab for Education and select Achievement Program. The first requirement listed under the Electrical Certificate is to construct and demonstrate the satisfactory operation of an electrical control system on a model railroad, and it includes 6 specific requirements. Among these is a requirement for a reversing loop turntable, or Wye. Now, these items may or may not be included on your layout, but fortunately there is provision to accomplish one or more of them elsewhere, such as on a different layout or even on a separate project board, as I have opted to do here, and I decided to construct a Wye. To accomplish the wiring for Wye, we need to understand how it is to be done. A reversing loop turntable, or Wye, requires a reversing section at some point to accommodate a necessary change in polarity. Here you can see my electrical schematic drawing for the Wye. Note the indication of the reversing section, which in my case is controlled by a dual frog juicer that is acting as an auto reverser. The requirements for the electrical certificate also include the preparation of a schematic drawing for the propulsion circuitry of the model railroad in Section 1. This must show the gaps, blocks, feeders, speed and direction control, electrical switches, and power supplies. Here you can see my schematic drawing for the propulsion circuitry for the Wye. Note the power supply, command station, and controller at lower left. And here is my project board, which measures 5 by 3 feet. The track is Atlas Code 55, and the feeder wires were soldered to the underside of the rails before gluing the track down. The board has a 2-inch deep surround to provide clearance for the wiring underneath. The feeder wires were connected to the bus wires, and the joints were soldered and then covered with heat shrink. The bus wires were run out to the edge of the project board and terminated into a barrier strip for easy connection of track power to a DCC system in this case. The turnouts are actuated by linear motors, which also control the frog polarity. The motors receive power from the auxiliary bus wires, which were also run out to the edge of the project board, and they were terminated in a jack for easy connection to a 12-volt power supply. The dual frog juicer in the center acts as an auto-reverser for the reversing section of the Wye. It is connected to the track bus wires and feeds the track within the reversing section. This is a close-up of one of the linear motors showing connections to the auxiliary bus for power, to the toggle switch for control from the fascia, and to the frog and track bus for polarity control. This video shows a demonstration of the Wye with a locomotive under its own power. This is something that has to be demonstrated at the time of evaluation for the electrical certificate. So here you see the locomotive proceeding down the main track. This is a high hood locomotive and the long hood is forward. After throwing the turnout, the engine will reverse onto the left leg of the Wye. And as it passes around this leg, it's going to cross the gap in the rails to pass into the reversing section. And then the polarity of that reversing section has to change so that the engine can pass back out of it onto the other leg of the Wye. So as it comes around this leg of the Wye, it passes out of the reversing section across the gap and then back onto the main track. And you can see that the direction of the locomotive has now reversed. We will then run back around the Wye in the opposite direction, again passing from the main track and the leg of the Wye into the reversing section, to the tail of the Wye, and then back out on the other leg, again passing out of the reversing section, back onto the main track, and then after throwing the turnout, we will reverse back down the main track to where we started. So this concludes a successful test of the Wye, and it is now ready for evaluation for the electrical certificate. Thank you for watching. I hope to upload additional videos as I work my way through the various requirements for the civil and electrical certificates. Bye for now.